Well, hi there, and welcome to my build. It's going to be a build for the Four Horsemen April Invitational 2021, and it's going to be Ratty Muscle. And for this challenge, they've picked the Hot Wheels ID Dodge Charger. And here we are. This is a basic casting, and I'll do a little review before we get started, but it's pretty enough in its own right, but there were a few glitches I weren't happy with. Really, it was ideal for what I was using it for, but as a premium car, I'm not that happy with some of the finishes on it. The blue, it was obviously hung that way up when it was sprayed and it's run, so it's pale at the back and darker at the front, and it's run away from some of the panel lines, so it's pale round panel lines. So it's just not, and really, to be honest, it's not even a thick paint when you come to stripping it. Like a lot of the quality Hot Wheels, they have thick paint. This is only a very thin paint. On the bonnet there, the stripes aren't even lined up. They ride over, and it's not by a little bit, it's right over to one side, which on a premium you'd expect so much better. Because I don't think it's meant to be deliberate, I think it's meant to be equal. The rear white stripe isn't quite lined up. The Hot Wheels logo on the number plate at the back isn't fully printed. That's about it on the paint, but you'd expect so much more for one of the top of the range cars with the ID. Just for a gimmick and a chip. The chip will have cost them pennies, to be honest, and to mould it into it is just another factory process. So really, for the paint to be that far off, there's no excuse for it really, to be honest. And here I'm drilling the base, ready for putting screws in. And as it goes, I didn't end up putting screws in. I've super glued it back together in the end, because during drilling and tapping, I snapped my tap in it. First time I've done that for absolute ages, so I've had to buy a new tap set. And here I'm prising the base off, even so I show the drilling and tapping, because it's helpful. I mean, if somebody's coming into this hobby and mine's the first video they see, it's handy to have the drilling and tapping explanation for them there. And here I'm prising the wheels off. I'm not going to be using them, they get ditched into my wheels box. The ones that may be used in future builds. And here I'm drilling the posts, and at that point it were a quite difficult one for drilling, so if you take notes, I'm holding the casting in a cloth to protect from the heat. It's basically friction heating. Here I'm using the tap. I don't know whether I've edited out the snapping point or whether I caught it, but I use a 1.7mm drill and tap to an M2 thread, and at this point I'm actually doing some damage down the car, like it's been sideswiped or possibly gone down a barrier or whatever. Just doing densing and scraping and all the associated damage with going sideways down something. And there we go. Then I tilt the stone onto the edge, so I use the very corner of the stone to gouges down it. Basically troughs, ready for painting. And at this point, I'm actually using nitro mowers. And I'm a British customizer restorer, so you might not have that in the States. But if you're a UK restorer and you do Hot Wheels, I wouldn't bother purchasing nitro mowers, because it doesn't touch them. And here, it's in the caustic bath of doom. Boiling water and caustic soda. And that worked, and that was at the point I found out it's actually very thin paint on this particular version. But thin doesn't necessarily not equal tough. As I say, paint stripper didn't touch it. And here I'm putting some primer on, just so we know where we're going and what we've got. And getting a good covering. Doesn't have to be hugely thick, the primer. And here I'm using some of the Citadel colours. I'm starting off with very dark brown for the background layer of the rust. Then I'm using an orangey colour. And I finished off with a yellow ochre type colour on top. It's just stippled on with a stipple brush to give a bit of texture, as well as, because you need a bit of texture as well as the colour. And there we go, off with that. And next up, we'll be seeing, I've actually there drilled the openings in the supercharger, make them look a bit more detailed. I've not necessarily got them lined up perfect, but it looks a bit better. And at this point I'm sanding off the bottoms of the axles on the chassis that are meant to represent disc brakes and stuff. They don't really add anything to it, to be honest. Unless they add something to racing, I don't know. For speed, I don't know. I'm no expert on that side. And at this point it has gone into paint. I painted it first of all. Well, first of all I put salt over my rust effects. I sprayed some water on, dropped some salt on. Then once the salt had dried a bit, I sprayed it red. Then for spraying on over the top, I toned it down with a little white to give a pinky effect, like faded red paint goes. Then I sprayed a rear wheel arch, a creamy colour as if it's been primed after some work. I painted a front wing a chocolatey colour, so it looks like it's a wing out of part stocks from new. At this point I'm painting the seat at the front blue. I've done the driver's seat as if he's got a new seat, because the old one was worn out and it's come from a different coloured interior. At this point I'm just painting red in to the supercharger on the, I don't know what they call them, flaps. I know they twist open when it's throttled up. And at this point I'm putting a Vallejo black wash on You can either use that or Null Oil if you use Citadel colours. I've got both, I find both are equally as good. If you need a blue tint to it, which is good for metals also, you can use Drakenhof Nightshade. And there we go, just doing over top and up to tops. Just making the engine look that little bit more convincing, and at this point I'll lift it up and do a quick wash over the drill just to give it that more detail and a bit more convincing. And here it's back together, and as I was saying before, I've done a chocolate coloured wing as if it's had a new wing out of part stock. They put an orange boot lid on it, God knows where that could have come from. There I'm painting the petrol cap, but it's got blue splodges of paint on it where it's been vandalised in a yard by kids playing. And one of them's even signed his name on it, so I'd guess Jed got a good spanking on the arse when he got home to his dad. And here we go, I'm just painting some fuel stains, and also I rubbed off the primer coat where the fuel would have took the paint off. So there's fuel staining going down there, and also add a bit of sepia tone so you can do bits of rust staining where it's coming through the filler, as it does on wheel arches. And I'll touch up put some of the wash down the door panels and panel lines so they stand out a bit more. As you can see, I'm just putting bits in the gouges so they stand out a little more. And we'll do the door gap in a bit. There we are. Doing the panel line there so it stands out. Doing the boot panel line there. And I don't particularly show it, but I used earth coloured paint in the airbrush, and I airbrushed round the bottom part of the car to make it look like road dirt thrown up. Dirt and dust and mud and stuff like that, so the bottom edge of the cars film of dirt on it. Anyway, here's where we finished up. As you can see, all the explanations I've explained are there. It was originally red, but the paint's faded on the top, so he's got a pinky colour. You can see the blue where it got vandalised in the yard it was stored in. Paint, and the young scallywag signed his name on the Ray B post. Poor Jed would have got his ass kicked when he got home. Anyway, there we go. You can basically see years of neglect. I think it's worked as an idea. Hoping to see what the others have come up with. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please subscribe. To all my subscribers, thank you. And bye for now, and I'll see you in my next vid. Tatty bye!